welcome to this testimonial about gender equality. We are very fortunate today to have Mrs. Frances Fitzgerald, who is an MEP for Dublin, the city and the county, who's been a minister in several governments in Ireland before. She has also been a deputy prime minister for the Irish government. So welcome, Frances, to this short interview today. We are very, as you know, we stand for gender equality at the European Banking Authority. It's been a very important part of our DNA in recent years. We stand for that topic, both for what we do as an organization for ourselves, the way we deal with that matter for our own organization, but also in what we produce, in the standards we develop, in the policy agenda that we develop for banks and supervisors. So our motto here has always been that a public organization should resemble the society it's embedded in. So it's really important for us that gender equality is taken as a priority and is really becomes mainstream. So that's what we are trying to achieve. And this is why we are so pleased to have you today with us, because we also want to create awareness on that topic for a broad audience, with many people following our activities, and in everything we do, we try to advance that agenda. And of course, we've been extremely happy and interested in the recent attribution of the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences earlier this month to Mrs. Claudia Goldin for having advanced our understanding of women's labor market outcome. She's the third woman who to win this award, and she was even the first one to win it in solo. So it's a clear achievement. We take that as a fantastic and powerful signal for what we are trying to promote. And I'd be interested in your views about this Nobel Prize attribution, of course, but also maybe I'd like to ask you about the economic cost and gender. And we know that you feel very strongly about this topic. And could you share with us some of your ideas, findings, and how we should think about those topics?
Well, hello, and thank you for inviting me to have this conversation with you, François-Louis, and congratulations on all you're doing in the European Banking Authority, because I really believe you are leading the way and have had some wonderful initiatives, and you can see that in the representation of women and men in your organisation and the progress that women have been making. So look, this was fantastic news, because I do believe despite the work of many people, the topic of women in the economy has been somewhat sidelined, marginalised, relegated to the fringes of the field. And I think this is a powerful statement that she has won this. I mean, I read with surprise, really, that her book was published in 1990, Understanding the Gender Gap. That's a long time ago. And here she is now winning the prize. So she's really pointing out that we really need to look at the whole economic and social structure to understand what's been happening to women over a long period, and that the birth of the first child is very often the defining period in terms of gender pay gap differences and so on. But I think, yes, I have focused very much on this in recent years because, you know, we speak about equality as like, if you like, a moral imperative, something we really know is the right thing to do, equal opportunities for women and men. But actually, I think it's very powerful to focus on the economic loss to all of our member states across Europe, indeed to the world. By not having gender equality, there is enormous economic price to be paid for this. So, you know, if we dealt with improving gender equality by 2050, we could boost EU GDP by between 1.95 trillion and 3.15 trillion, according to EIGE, the European Institute for Gender Equality. And of course, if we boosted the numbers of women in STEM, and this is a big problem at the moment, digital and AI, you could give a 16 billion annual boost to EU GDP. And I think this isn't thought about enough by governments, by policymakers. It's always like seen as, you know, we're really working hard on equality, but, you know, there's this barrier and that barrier. But actually, if you really care about the economic cost to your country, you'd have it way up there and you'd be doing all the things about work-life balance, about women on boards, you'd really be moving faster, and government would put even more energy behind it, and indeed the EU, than we have to date. We're on the right track, but let's accelerate it.
I find it super inspiring and very interesting to hear you, to listen to you, because it's true, as you said, that this topic has mostly been handled in the past as a moral duty, which it is also in a sense. I mean, it's about fairness, it's about being loyal to our societies and their components. But it's also true, and I think that can shift the debate quite a lot, that there's also an economic loss that might be coming from those inequalities. What would you say? Where would you say the main focus of the Parliament is now on this topic? How could you maybe summarize the agenda of the European Parliament regarding to gender equality as we speak now?
Well, look, François-Louis, what I would say is that it's been very strong in the last, during this commission. Ursula von der Leyen has done a great job. So we've looked at pay transparency and pay reporting, and that's really making a difference as well as firms report on that. We've looked at women on boards. That was held up for 10 years. We're now looking, of course, at violence against women. And again, what I emphasize in that, and no more than in my earlier response, is that, you know, there's an incredible personal cost for women and men when you don't get equality right at every level. There's also, by tolerating, and I say tolerating, the levels of violence that we have in all our countries, again, you're talking about absolutely enormous cost psychologically, personally, and financially. So we're working very hard on a directive on violence against women. But of course, all the other issues continue, François-Louis, like, you know, work-life balance and childcare. And the big point, very interesting point, is the care economy. Who's doing it? Who's doing the care? And how do we prepare for that in the future in Europe as we age? And, you know, to deal with childcare and elder care, we need a lot of initiatives. So those are amongst the preoccupations, as well as the cost of living.
Frances, we'd also love to hear about your personal experience, if I may. And you've been having so important responsibilities. You've been several times a minister. You're now an MEP. So you've been in charge of huge prestigious responsibility with agendas which are extremely difficult to handle. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, and how we can, any advice for our female colleagues, but also for our male colleagues on how to best manage in their personal lives?
Well, we definitely need male champions, and I think you're one. Really important that we have more men leading on equality. I think that's kind of a gap at present. We don't have a critical mass of men speaking about equality. Now, we also need a critical mass of women in decision making. And I've been in cabinet where there were 2 women out of 15 or where there were 5 out of 15. I tell you, I'm very keen, you know, a big learning for me has been critical mass, getting those sort of more equal numbers in all decision-making fora, in your businesses, in our banks, in all those places where we make decisions. It does make a real difference. I also think mentorship. I've had some great male mentors in my life, and also females, and that makes an incredible difference. And, you know, I remember one experience I had where I was nominated by the male head of a university to go to a leadership course. And I don't think I saw myself particularly as a leader at the time. And just getting that experience, which was in the States, that meant an awful lot to me. And it was a kind of a male champion. So I never underestimate the power of supporting people through their careers. And that applies to men as well as women, of course. So I think mentorship and support means an awful lot, and really strong initiatives. And you have to monitor the initiatives you bring in as well. You have to monitor them both internally and publicly, I think, to really get people to buy in and make a difference.
Frances, thank you so much for all those insights and guidance and enthusiasm that you've conveyed also and shared with us today. Many thanks.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure.